Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and today I'm coming at you barefaced because as you can see from the title of this video, I am doing a reflecting on my quarter 4 purchases for 2022, but I need to get ready to film my buys and buys, and I figured that I would try to do a get ready with me with my reflecting video. I don't know how this is going to turn out because I'm going to be like showing and referring to products as I'm trying to get ready, but we'll just see how I do. I actually do have a lot of the products pulled out for me to try to put on my face and kind of demo. If I have not already used them up to completion, I do have them in a basket to use in my get ready with me today. So if you want to see me do my makeup, and maybe I'll pop a look up, or of course the final look is in the thumbnail, but I'll pop the look up so that you guys can see what the final look is going to be, which I don't know how it's going to turn out because I am picking different shades from a couple palettes just to get them checked off my list for my No Pan Left Behind. But if you guys want to hear about my purchases and mini reviews from Q2 of 2023, plus get ready with me, then make sure to stick around. So I'm going to go ahead and prime my face, and I am using my Jelly Pop, but the one primer that I picked up in 2022, the last quarter, and it actually is an empty, is another e.l.f. primer, and that is the e.l.f. Makeup Grip. Gosh, what is it called? Power Grip. So this is the empty right here. I did cut it open. I got everything out of it. I used this up in my 24 and 2024, so it was rolled into my full year rolling 10 pan, and so this was an empty. So my mini review on that is that I'm not a fan. I'd rather them have the Jelly Pops all the time, but I cannot have my way. So I'm just mixing my foundations. I actually did not purchase any foundations in the last quarter. I don't know if I purchased any foundations last year, period, but we'll go ahead and get this blended out and I'll talk about some other purchases that I made. So I did purchase the Wet n Wild bronzer stick, and that was in Oaks on You. That one was also in my 23 and 2023, and I did get that used up. And where's my empty of that? Oh, right here. There's my empty. I dug everything out of it. That is something that it used to be a holy grail, and it was dethroned by another product that I actually purchased at the end of last year. But that is something that in a pinch, if I needed a cream bronzer, I would pick it up, but it's not going to be my first choice. I totally forgot. Another primer that I picked up last year was the Essence Hello Good Stuff. I used this up in Deck of Panning, I believe, but it only took me like 2.5 months to use this up. Not something that I would repurchase. I felt like it went too fast. Even though it is a, affordable product, it wasn't something that, wowed me or did anything special. I much prefer a more gripping primer anyway. With oily skin and living in a hot and humid climate, I'd rather have my makeup stay on than be extremely dewy. But, I mean, I do like to have a more, I guess, like, I don't necessarily want to say dewy, but I just want a more, like, lifeful. Is that even a word? But I want my complexion to not look completely flat and matte, but I also don't want my oils coming through and completely, like, making my makeup slide off my face. One other primer that I picked up last year was the e.l.f. Poreless Face Primer. I did pick this up in a mini. I use this strictly on my nose. It was buried in my products. I meant to use it today, but it's okay. This is in my 24 and 2024, so I do plan to use this up next year, but this is the last primer. I don't want to pretend like I'm lying, but this is the last primer that I picked up in 2022. And oh goodness, the eyeshadow palettes that I picked up in the last quarter of 2022, I went ham. on palettes, and I think palettes end up coming out for the Christmas season, and they just get us every time, and it helps set their sales. So let me set down my eyeshadow primer and I'll go through some of the palettes that I picked up last year, and then we'll go ahead and get in on the eye look as well. So one palette that I did pick up last year, and the palette that I'm going to be, I guess, dipping into the first shade and setting down a look, is the Natasha Denona Pastel palette. And I am in need of using this lime green down here called Zest. So that's what I'm going to start with, and then we'll go ahead and look at some of the other palettes that I picked up as well. And so I did pick up, and I'm going to make sure that they don't fall over, but the ColourPop and C3PO palette, I did pick that one up last year. And I mean, I love the color story with all the golds, and I'll pop up pictures since I'm trying to do my makeup and talk about these at the same time. I will just make more work for editing Erin, and that is okay. But it has these beautiful gold shades and these beautiful tans, and I just feel like you can get a really classic look out of those. And so I do enjoy that palette. Out of the 9-pan Star Wars palettes that ColourPop came out of, the only one that I don't have is the Darth Vader one, just because I'm not going to wear those shades. Now, this is not a palette that I picked up in the last quarter of 2022, but this is the palette that I'm going to be getting the rest of my shadows from, and it's the Natasha Denona Zendo, and you can see the reflection of my table with all my stuff on it. As you guys can probably tell, since I dipped into that green, I am in need of using a lot of the greens in this palette, so that's what we're going to be doing. I ended up picking up 2 different palettes from Lethal, and the first one that I did pick up was the Night Flower palette. Beautiful purples, and I love, love, love Lethal's formula, so this one was amazing. And then I did make myself a custom palette. I think I have moved around some shades since I've picked up a couple custom palettes from Lethal, but this is the color story that is in this one. This is primarily the color story that I ended up picking up in the first place, but again, I love their shadows. Lethal did come out with a new palette recently, like a palette they put together themselves, and I thought about it, but at this point, I think I have most of the shades in that color story, and so it's not anything that I have to run out and grab right away. But if you have been thinking about trying something from Lethal or putting together your own custom palette, I will not talk you out of it. I have been so impressed with their shades, and I mean, their shimmers are soft and buttery and impactful. Their mattes are pigmented but also easy to blend, and not like the Zendo palette. Good Lord. There's something about this formula that just isn't quite right. But another Natasha palette that I did pick up last year is the Natasha Denona Retro Glam. And my goodness, everything is so reflective today. So that's that color story in there. Absolutely beautiful. This is one of the palettes that I have not started working on in my No Pan Left Behind. So that one is definitely on my mind to get used before the end of the year. Now maybe some palettes that I end up regretting picking up, and we'll start with the Urban Decay Naked Wild West, and this is the color story on the inside. And I'll go ahead and pop my shimmers on while I'm talking about that palette, but I did pick that one up for 50% off. I'm pretty sure it was on clearance. A lot of times Urban Decay does put their palettes on clearance around the end of the year when they were released. And I really loved the color story when it was released, and obviously I was excited to pick it up whenever it finally went on sale. But once I had it home and once I used it, it just wasn't something that blew me away. And apart from the Naked Honey palette, And the stoned vibes, I have not really been impressed with palettes from Urban Decay, and I haven't picked up one since picking up Naked Wild West. I just have not been tempted by any, and they have not been on my radar at all. I don't know what they're doing or what they're going to come out with next. And even when they came out with the Moondust palettes for holiday, they weren't anything I was interested in either. So that was one that I definitely have some regrets about picking up. And then the last two palettes that I picked up are from Pat McGrath. She usually runs a pretty good sale at the end of the year, and so I did go ahead and I took advantage of that. And this was my first, no, not my first experience. I had picked up the Bridgerton palette, but this was my first experience with the larger Mothership palettes. So I did end up picking up the Mothership, I believe this is Mothership 9, but this is the Utopian Dreams, and so this is what it looks like on the inside. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous palette, but I don't know if there's anything horribly special about Pat McGrath's formula that would warrant the price. And so while I'm happy I have one, I'm happy I got it on sale, it's not anything that I would tell somebody that they need to run out and buy. I would say go pick and build yourself a palette with Lethal over picking up something from Pat McGrath. But the other one that I picked up, and this was strictly for merch, was the Darth Vader palette that she did with Star Wars collab last year, and it has 5 shimmers in it. Again, these shimmers are beautiful and soft and impactful and all that jazz, like all the wonderful keywords. But do I feel like it's worth the price for 5 small shadows? Absolutely not. So that is, again, something where if there's something that you understand that you're purchasing a higher price item for the name, for the packaging, like make the peace with yourself that you're doing that. But otherwise, I don't really see the hype around Pat McGrath's eyeshadow palettes, and please, please, please only get them on sale. All right, I put a little bit of pink shadow under my lower lash line from the Zendo palette, and you guys will see why as we go along, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave the eyes where they are right now and finish the rest of my base. So while I'm doing that, I'm actually gonna pull over my skincare products so I can talk about those, because I have a little bit more steps to do before I get to my other makeup products that I ended up purchasing. So pulling off the top, I did purchase a big tube of the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream. This usually goes on sale during like the Black Friday times, and so I did pick up a big one of these. I've liked this moisturizer in the past, but now I just don't feel like it is worth the hype or worth picking up again. I did end up just using that up in my nighttime skincare routine, and so I did not pick up another one when they were on sale this Black Friday, so that was not anything that I mean, I know people swear by it, but I have some other skincare products that do the same thing and don't have that high of a price tag. I did pick up the e.l.f. Holy Hydration Daily Moisturizer. I do love these, and make sure to catch the video that is posted after this one, which is my buys and buys. It's basically my empties and then my haul for the month. And you'll see this product pop back up in that video because I do love that moisturizer. With oily skin, I can't go too hard with moisturizers, and I need my skin because my skin is dehydrated but oily. And my goodness, when I have my base on, I look like a ghost. So we will definitely need some color back into my face. But that moisturizer works really good under makeup, and it hydrates my skin just enough that it's not going to set off my oils. So that is a lovely moisturizer. Next thing off the top here is the Good Molecules Vitamin C powder. I use this as kind of a more stable form of vitamin C for my daytime skincare. So it's not necessarily a liquid that is going to go bad in X amount of time, because it does take me about a year to use one of these containers up. And so it's just a white powder with, vitamin C basically. So I do add that to my daytime skincare, and that is how I get my vitamin C, and it's affordable. So I have already repurchased one of these, so that is definitely something that I would recommend if the items that you're looking at for vitamin C are a little bit too pricey, or you feel like you wouldn't go through vitamin C fast enough before it went bad. I'm going to jump back over to makeup because we are at this step now, and this is the Soul Body Bronzer Balm. I do have this in the shade Light, and big old pan in there, but I did pick this up during the fourth quarter of last year. This is pretty much my holy grail cream bronzer. This is the third one that I'm working on, and it is definitely a repurchase for me. And so now I have some life back to my face. But this is a wonderful product, and ColourPop has a pretty good shade range out of these. Of course, I can't speak to people with very dark skin tones. Please, if you are wondering about that, find a creator that has a skin tone similar to yours so that they can actually give you their honest feedback about how these skin tones work for them. I can only say for me with light to fair skin, I do get it in the shade Light. So I do want it a little bit darker, but if you are fairer than me, then definitely check out the fair shade. I'm going to put on some cream blush while I talk about some of the other skincare, and then we'll bounce back to a makeup item. And in here I do have my holy grail makeup remover. So this is the Clinique Take the Day Off Balm. I did pick up one of the jumbo ones last year, and it's empty. I need to go back and look to see how fast I go through those. I think I go through 2 of the jumbos per year. I was fortunate enough this year to find some jumbos at like a TJ Maxx or a Marshall's for pretty much like 50% off retail. So I was super thrilled to be able to pick those up. But this was something that I repurchase constantly, and I did purchase it last year, and I was able to use it up within the year. I did pick up this brow product in the fourth quarter of last year. This is the ABH Perfect Brow. It is a sharpenable brow pencil, and I love these because, number one, they're wooden, so the pencil shavings are not necessarily adding a bunch of plastic to the environment, and this lasts me 8 months. So a skinny brow pencil, I can typically go through one of those within a month to a month and a half. And that's a lot of plastic and a lot of money to go through, anywhere from what we'll say 9 to 12 of those per year. That is a lot of plastic. And I know that some people, I think I mentioned in a comment, you guys are so sweet. And I've had some compliments about my brows. And I've said that I hate the feeling of plucking my brows, so I kind of escaped the really thin brows of the 90s because I was not going to pluck my brows. So I do have a lot of brow hairs. I do have thicker brows, but I know some people, they do have to draw in a lot of brows. I know that they do have to draw in brow hairs. So I understand why people need the skinny brow pencils, but even to that effect, I would say try a pomade. You can get the same thin brow hairs with a fine, angled brush from a pomade. You can get the same exact look. Now, of course, it does take a little bit more time, maybe a little bit more finesse to do it with a pomade, but it is possible. So I don't know. I understand having the skinny brow pencils, but I think that they're so wasteful that I wish that they would just take them off the market. But I do love this brow pencil and I have repurchased. So this is a holy grail that I am not without. Put some Wow Brow in here. And another item that I purchased and have used up is just one of the Equate moisturizing creams. This is the Walmart brand. That is the like dupe of the CeraVe cream. And so that is what I use for my nighttime moisturizer. I do mix in and I have it here, I mix in one of the Ordinary hyaluronic acids. I did pick this up last year as well, and I used that up with the cream. So that is another empty that I used up within the year. And I think last year too, I did mix in the arginine solution. I was using that by itself, but I wasn't really seeing any benefits to it. So I decided to just say, screw it. I'm going to mix it in with my moisturizer and get it used up that way. So purchasing these last year and being able to use them up this year, I was able to use these 3 products up as well. I have repurchased that moisturizer because it is one of my favorites to be able to use. And so the last 2 skincare items that I purchased and I was able to use up are the niacinamide and the caffeine solution. I mix these in with my daytime skincare, and so again, purchased these last year, got to use them up within the year, and so I'm happy that I'm using up my actives before they go bad. Let me blend out my corrector real quick, and then I think the only other things that I don't have the packaging for is I used up a pack of the Cosrx pimple patches, and I think that, oh no, this one. So I did pick up last year and there's hair on it because it's been in my shower, the Fourth Ray, which is ColourPop skincare brand. So Fourth Ray BFD cleansing oil. I have the littlest amount left. I typically go through about 1 of these a year because I do have this. I typically use my cleansing balm as my main one, but if I am in the bath or if I'm grabbing this one off or I'm washing my face at the sink, then this is what I grab for. So this was my last skincare product that I ended up purchasing last year, and maybe it'll be an empty by the end of the year. We will have to see, but I wanted to purchase one of these during the most recent ColourPop sale, but it was sold out. So it is a wonderful product, but you can only get it on ColourPop's website, which is a shame. So last year I did pick up 2 of the Nikia Joy powders. I have finished one already this year, and I am working on the second one. So I'm going to go ahead and set my face with this. Creases, are we good? I love this powder. I've started to use one of the triangle puffs with this powder, but I feel like I went through it slower when I was using my sponge to set my face with powder. And so I might go back to that just to make these last a little bit longer. Because, I mean, they're not overly expensive, and I do pick them up during Black Friday, so I'm not, paying full price for them. But overall, I love this powder. It sets my makeup beautifully. So I know that if I'm having a bad skin day, if I'm having a bad foundation day, if I set my face with this powder, it is going to look beautiful. So this powder kind of saves the day. And the way that I use it with my puff is I just basically dip into the container a little bit, get some powder on my sponge, and then I tap it out in the lid so that I can knock off any powder that is loose, or I can get that powder kind of deeper into the sponge or to the puff, and I just set my face that way. So we are all set. I love this powder. It's kind of my holy grail. And so that is a repurchase for sure. I'm going to go back in and just redefine that lower lash line a little bit. And then we can talk about the next product on my list. So I put that pink on my lower lash line because my next item that I picked up was another one of the Urban Decay liners, and this is in Wild Side. It is a like sparkly metallic pink, and I might need to sharpen this, but I wanted to just go ahead and pop this pink on my lower lash line and just have that pop of color. I do love the Urban Decay formula. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sharpen this. The one observation that I have with the more sparkly or metallic shades is they are extremely soft. So I'm gonna run through this one pretty quickly if I use it consistently, because it does deposit quite a bit of product, but it is very sparkly and very beautiful and very impactful. I'm gonna put on some bronzer and blush, and I can talk about the one fragrance that I picked up last year, and it is Burberry Her Elixir. So I love Burberry Her, but when they came out with this one, and maybe I'll try to put the notes on the screen if editing me is feeling spicy, but it does have a little bit more of a vanilla and I think berry scents to it over the regular Burberry Her. And so that is what drew me to it, because I had picked up last year also the Billie Eilish like #1 perfume, which is very, very vanilla based. It kind of smells like just straight up vanilla, almost like one noted. And so I wanted to be able to wear something a little bit more sophisticated with it. And so I was like, okay, let me try the Burberry Elixir or Her Elixir with that one, because I feel like some of the vanilla notes in the Burberry Her are lost just because it is such an impactful fragrance. And I say impactful as in like strong. It is a strong fragrance, but I wouldn't expect anything less from a high-end fragrance brand like Burberry. I think that if they came out with scents that like wore off you within just a couple hours, I think people would be quite upset because they are expensive. So I have really, really loved mixing the Burberry Her with the Billie Eilish perfume, and that is typically how I wear them together, just to, like I said, bring down how strong the Burberry one is. And if y'all are wondering what I'm doing to my eyes now, I'm using my blush to blend out the edges of my eyeshadow, and I love doing that. It just ties everything together. Since I bring my blush onto my temples, I do like to connect my eyeshadow look with my blush. So the next kind of category that I ended up picking up last year was my setting sprays. And so my holy grails are the e.l.f. Dewy Coconut Setting Mist and the Gerard Cosmetics Setting Spray in the coconut scent. A lot of the other Gerard Cosmetics ones, since this, I know this is alcohol based, you can smell it, but the coconut one smells the least of alcohol. So that is why I love it. Plus, what I end up doing, because, let me reach over here, these are the ones that I've gone through this year. And these are the ones, as I hold everything, these are the ones I have left. So I pick up pretty much 3 of these every single year, and I actually pour them all together and mix them together and then pour them back in their bottles, because I want the long-lasting mist of the Gerard with the kind of like hydration and dewiness of the e.l.f., and so I just mix them together. It works for me. If you guys don't like mixing your products, that is completely okay, but this is what works for me. So those are the 6 setting sprays that I picked up last year, and I do have 2 left that I'm using. And so I do need to go ahead and mist my face before I put on my highlight, and so that is what I'm going to do. I do prefer the mister on the e.l.f. one over the Gerard Cosmetics, so usually what I'll do is I will pour some of the mixture into the e.l.f. bottles and just use it straight out of the e.l.f. And when I have emptied the Gerard one into the e.l.f. bottle, I consider the Gerard one empty, if that makes sense. But I basically enjoy this sprayer better than the other one. While I'm doing my highlight, I do have 3 other empties that I purchased last year. And so the first one is the ABH Brow Setter Gel. That one, it used to be a holy grail, but now it has definitely been dethroned. I felt like it didn't hold as good anymore. The wand, like the brush on it, is a little bit big, even for my eyebrows, which again, I have fluffy natural eyebrows. And so definitely that was one that has been replaced in my Holy Grail status. I also felt like I went through it really quick, which I think the last time I used one up, it lasted me at least 6 months. So that was a little bit of a surprise at how quickly I was able to go through that one. The next item that I was able to use up is one of the ColourPop Glowing Lips. This is in the shade Cockatoo, and I like that formula, and it's a product that I would pick up kind of like in a pinch if I needed something, but it's not anything that I'm necessarily going back to. I do have some other formulas that I like a lot better, so it's not something that I need to run out and get ASAP. All right, let's finish up my brows. So I picked one of these up and I used it up last year, and that is the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, and this is my fresh one. So this is the empty that I ended up using up. This is my brand new one, and so this is my Holy Grail Brow Setter. It holds my brows in place. I do not mind having a little bit of a crunchy brow. I think when you have a lot of brow hairs and they do like to be unruly, that is where this comes in, because it has a really nice comb on it, and it's very precise. Like, I don't feel like I'm getting gel all over my face with this. It just coats the hairs, kind of combs them into place, and then it sets. So love this. This is my Holy Grail. I will continue to repurchase this, but I did go through one last year that I purchased at the end of the year. I'm going to go ahead and curl my eyelashes, and we can talk about mascara. The mascara that I picked up last year used to be a Holy Grail, but this year it's kind of failed me. And so it was the Sephora Collection Lash Craft Big Volume Mascara. So this one, I usually pick them up while Sephora is doing their 30% off during their VIB sale. And it used to be a Holy Grail volumizing, like it never let me down. It looked beautiful. It didn't smudge. It didn't flake. And then when I purchased the one last year and then used it this year, it ended up like smudging on me and making me look like I had about 3 eyelashes. So I don't know if the formula was just old or what was going on with that tube, but it's not something where I'm willing to risk like purchasing another one to see if it'll work for me. So unfortunately, and the thing is, when it went on sale 30% off, it was like $7.50. And that was just an excellent price to pay for a mascara that kind of like did everything that I needed it to do. So I'm very, very sad that that mascara ended up not working for me anymore. But it has allowed me to find some other mascaras that I do like. And I'm going to miss that mascara, but it's not anything where I'm going to like cry about it or anything like that. But definitely, I liked getting mascaras on a deal because I do go through them every 3 to 4 months. I am diligent about throwing away or kind of like calling my mascaras done whenever they need to be done. I do record when I open them so that I know when that 3 months is up. And I got mascara on me. I need to not talk while I do my lower lash line. So let me finish my lower lash line, then I'll come back with the rest of my products. All right, I popped on my lower lash line mascara and some nude eyeliner. I'm gonna let that flake dry for another couple minutes and then I'll get that off for our final look. But let's see here. I think this is the last item that is on my list. Let me double check. Yes, this is the last item on my list that I purchased in the fourth quarter of last year, and that is a ColourPop lip liner in Oh Snap. This is in my 24 in 2024, so I am actually set to use this up next year, but we'll use it for this look. Since I don't have any other lip products, I'm just going to fill in with this. I would have perhaps wanted a warmer lip with this look, but I'm going to throw on the e.l.f. lip oil, and then I'll wrap up my thoughts about my purchases in Q4 of 2022. Beautiful, juicy lip. And actually, I forgot to get this mascara off over here, so let's go ahead and get that off. While I fill in a little bit of my brows with my hairline powder, I'll kind of look around me and see what were the standout products from last year. I would have to say some of the palettes. So I think the main standouts for palettes was the two Lethal palettes. I just feel like you can't compare the formula and the quality of those to anything that is kind of like mainstream. Again, even Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath, I just don't feel like you can compare that quality and just the shine that you get. And not only that, but being able to create your own color story in your own palettes. And then also, you know, they're coming out with color stories that the mainstream is not necessarily doing. You know, color stories like this are not showing up in Sephora. They just aren't. So you need to go to your indie brands to find something along those lines. So I think that those were the standouts for my eyeshadow. And then everything else, a lot of it was just restocking. And I think especially the, you know, the last quarter of the year is used for restocking my holy grails. Do I want to do my hairline while I'm on camera? Yeah, I'll do my hairline while we're chit-chatting. I want to dye my hair this weekend, so we will see if that is on the agenda. But definitely, I use the fourth quarter of the years during all of our Black Friday sales, all of that. And if you watch my next video, my buys and buys, you'll definitely see what I ended up walking away with the Black Friday sales. And so definitely that is the time of year that the products that are my tried and trues, the products that I am going to use up in the following year, because you guys see that a lot of the things that I bought last year, I've used up. And that is my whole goal, is to not necessarily have a bunch of products apart from eyeshadows. Like, I get it. My eyeshadow collection, it is what it is. I've made peace with it. That's why I am kind of being intentional about the products that I'm bringing in during the sales, and I'm not going hog wild. There was plenty of things that I wanted to purchase this year during all the sales that I definitely held myself back from. So out of my makeup items, I did purchase 29 last year during the fourth quarter. And how many have I already used up? And I've already used up 13 of those. So almost half. Like, we are just on the edge of having used up half. And if we really think about it, out of those 29 items, one was a perfume that I'm not going to use up in a year. That's going to take me a little while. And then how many of them were palettes? Out of those 29 things, 7 of those were palettes, which that is eye-opening. But I picked up 7 palettes. So 7 palettes plus a perfume. So that's 8 items that are not expected to get used up in a year. So that leaves me with the 21 items that were, we'll call them perishables maybe, but 21 items that I should have been able to run through, and I used up 13 of them. So I like those numbers. I like that ratio. And definitely, how many skincare? 1, 2, 3, 4. And out of the 11 skincare items that I picked up, I only have one left as of the filming of this video, and I could possibly use this up by the end of the year. So that would mean that pretty much, we'll call it 100% of the skincare items that I picked up in the fourth quarter of last year, I was able to complete in that year. So when I keep harping on and my mirror keeps turning off, that's giving me a little bit extra light. But when I harp on my conscious consumerism, when I talk about being intentional with my purchases, even when I talked about increasing my budget so that I could bring in more, I still have in the back of my head, how much am I actually using up? And since we are at the end of the year, let me actually see, I would kind of say that everything that I brought in last year, skincare wise, has been used up. All of that is gone. Let me look at my makeup side and see what I've been able to use up, and maybe I'll do like a percentage. Let me calculate that real quick, and we will talk about my overall purchases for 2022. All right, so the figures, because you guys know I love this stuff. So I had a total of 96 purchases, and this is in makeup, and perfumes are in here too. So 96. Out of the 96, I have used up 55. And so that's 57% that I was able to use up. Now, that includes 19 palettes slash eyeshadow products, which I'm not going to use those up in a year, and 4 perfumes. So if I take our 96 and I take away our eyeshadows and our perfumes, that's 73 items. And so with that, that means that I used up 75%. And in there, I had some blushes, which I'm not going to use up in a year, so I could put this number down even further. So this really is amazing, and I love figuring this out, that even including like blushes and eyeshadow primers, which I'm not going to go through in a year, I was able to use up 75% of my items that I brought in last year that are not eyeshadow products or perfumes. 75%. Boggles my mind, blows my mind. I love it. I love that number. This makes me want to kind of compete with myself for next year, so we'll have to see what my numbers pan out to be. But I hope that you guys liked this Get Ready With Me. Of course, this will be the look for my next video, so pardon me, I am trying to get some filming done. I have all of my inventories to do, all of my wrap-ups to do, so I am batch filming some things, and I really don't have time to take my makeup off and do a whole other look, so I figured I would do it this way. But I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that you liked hearing about my purchases from last year and my numbers about how I did. I'm definitely going to have an end of the year inventory and a wrap up with my buys and buys to go over the things that I purchased in 2023 and kind of the standout items. I know last year I did like a top 5, bottom 5 of what I purchased in all of the year. So I'll do another one of those probably sometime after the first of the year, but definitely I have some exciting content coming around. So I want to encourage you guys to do all the things. Make sure to hit the thumbs up on this video. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on all the things that I have coming out in December and definitely in January and February. I have a lot of things kind of planned for the beginning of this year. And then also make sure to drop me a comment down below. How did you do with your purchases? What was the standout item for you from your purchases of 2022? Let me know what the standout product was for you. I definitely want to know. I love our conversations down in the comment section. I have the most beautiful, supportive people watching my content and commenting, and we are just so supportive of each other and so encouraging, and it is because you guys have made this space out of my channel. So I appreciate all of you. You guys are wonderful. And definitely from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you for all the support this year. But let me go ahead and wrap this up so I can put all of this stuff away and bring out my purchases and my empties for November so that I can do my buys and buys. So be on the lookout for that video. It'll go up on the 14th. But otherwise, I wish you guys a beautiful day, and I will catch you very shortly in my next one.